y'all. It's Dr. Sean. How are you doing? Tonight's topic is reframing and reinforcing boundaries. I've become masterful at this at my 59 years of age, and I know many in my age group and younger folks are trying to figure out boundaries. So I thought I'd make this really clean and simple, and juxtapose the difference between rules and boundaries, because they're very, very different. All right, before I get going, just want to remind you of a couple things. Join our group. We have a group called Joy is a Habit. As soon as I'm done with this lecture, I will put all the notes in the comments, so you don't even have to take notes. I'll give you the examples, the whole 9 yards, okay? And it's examples in my world that really make a difference, because when you're trying to set boundaries, sometimes you feel like, are you being the B word? Are you being too hard? Are you being controlling? All those things are things I've meandered through in the last 30 years, and I've gotten pretty darn good at it. My husband even said to me, I've been married 27 years. My husband said to me the other day, and I've been talking about boundaries for frickin' forever. He says, boundaries actually keep people safe. He hates the word, but he has hated the word boundary. Like, my boundary is, and he always rolls his eyes, which is one of my boundaries, no eye rolling, okay? Because it can land as disrespectful when you're communicating, right? So one of my personal boundaries is no eye rolling. It's a type of disrespect. So we're going to meander and play in through this, and how I thought I would start tonight. I see you guys are showing up. Hi, Terry. I miss you too. I see you guys. So the topic tonight is reframing and reinforcing boundaries. And let's start with some definitions and make some distinctions between rules and boundaries. And once again, all my notes, I've already typed them all up. As soon as the lecture's over, I'll put them up in the comment section, okay? I see you guys. I'm doing good. How are you doing? Yeah, and I get it, Angie. It is a new word for many people. It depends on where you are in your life, right? I actually credit Brene Brown, whom I love. I love her. I could just listen to her all day, for really making boundaries more commonplace in culture, the conversation of boundaries. All right, so rules and boundaries are different. They're so different. Rules apply to others that maybe you created with a partner or someone in your life, maybe for kids, or rules at work. Boundaries apply to you, yourself. Rules are restrictions or enforceable actions. Boundaries are about your personal power, your mental health, ways to keep you internally safe, and they are person specific, meaning they can be different for everybody. And many times you don't even know someone's boundary until you violate it, which is part of an intimacy process. Like, maybe you make a new friend and all of a sudden she says, "Oh, I don't like that." How would I have known? Boundaries happen because intimacy starts to happen, right? Intimacy starts to happen. So I have some real examples, okay? Rules are generally clarified up front. Here's an example. No opening presents until after 8 a.m. and everyone is awake on Christmas Day. That is one of the rules that was in my household, because many times, one time the kids got up like at, 6:30 in the morning and just started ripping open presents. It's like, ooh, that boundary is violated, and no opening presents till 8 a.m. So the rule was violated that hadn't been set, or the boundary. And here's another boundary type. If you keep trying to look inside the presents, I'll have to put them away. A violation is occurring. You personally don't know what to do until someone is behaving in a way that's uncomfortable or not working, okay? I see you guys are showing up. We're sharing the distinction between rules and boundaries. So here's a rule you might have for your kids. Well, when people come to our home, we let them take turns and use our things, but they don't get to take them away. So we have to share. Now, a boundary might be, well, if you don't want Sam, who's about to come over and play, if you don't want him to play with certain toys, let's put them away now in the closet so no one will have access to them until the guests leave. Great boundary. Okay. Rules are things we agree to. or parents create. Like in marriage, one of our rules is you don't have extramarital affairs. That's a rule, okay? You just don't do that. And a boundary it's things that I set for me would be, well, I'm comfortable kissing and holding hands, but not in public. That is specific to my individuality, and that's something that I create in my marriage to help me feel comfortable with my partner. Make sense? It's starting to make sense, right? Like when it's explained like this, you're like, oh yeah, okay, I see rules, I see boundaries. Another boundary of mine is that if you want to use my car, you can't leave any garbage in it. So I've set that boundary many times with my husband. He hasn't taken, I just got a new Beetle. He hasn't taken my new Beetle yet. But setting boundaries is a way of taking care of ourselves and taking care of others. And boundaries allow others to know where you stand. There's no guesswork. There's no reading minds. We both have a right and a duty to express, protect, and defend ourselves. And here's the thing that I just love the most about boundary setting. Generous people set boundaries. It's actually an act of generosity and an act of compassion to set a boundary, because no one has to guess. And if you don't set boundaries, you are in kind of, in a sense, giving yourself away. And we don't want people to mind read our needs, right? I found an actual definition of boundaries. I see you guys showing up. Wonderful to see you. Boundaries, here's the definition that I grabbed that I loved. Boundaries are the behavioral expectations and limits that a person maintains in relationship to preserve their mental health and respect the feelings of others. Good boundaries, which can apply to loved ones, friends, co-workers, family members, they form the bedrock of healthy relationships. No codependency, no mind reading. And by instituting a common comfort level concerning different activities or conversational topics, you're establishing consensual terms that you build and conduct relationships. So boundary setting is both a form of self-care and a way of showing that you care for others. Here's an example. And one of my boundaries is, especially when I'm going live, scammers and spammers show up live and are saying, let's meet and all that. Those are spammers and scammers. I don't allow that. As soon as anyone in my office sees them, we ban them from the page because it's deeply inappropriate. It's invasive. It impacts the intimacy on our Project Forgive page, or you might be watching from Dr. Sean or Positive Compassion or Joys I Have It Facebook group. We really ban people that do that because that is unacceptable to us. It's an invasion of privacy. So if you start seeing them show up once this live is complete, they'll either be banned or they'll disappear because we've already previously banned them. Got it? Aloha, Vivian, I see you. Here's a good boundary. My stepdaughter, Rachel, is taking some time out and doing some healing work. And my granddaughter, Ava, her daughter, is about to have a birthday. And she said, my daughter Rachel said, I want to have our own birthday party. No problem. So then I asked her via email, hey, can we drop off Ava's presents? Because she just turned 7. And she was very specific on her boundary. And her boundary is you can mail them. I send the kids a lot of stuff in the mail, even though they only live 30 minutes from me. Mail is a thing in our house. And she said, I would, love for you to mail it. So I'm like, okay. And I mentioned to my husband, he says, well, it's only 30 minutes away. We can always just drop it off on the porch. And I said, no, we can't. Rachel's doing some deep work right now. She specifically asked in her boundary setting for us to mail it, and we're going to honor that. And he said, that makes perfect sense to me. So we're honoring her boundary of please mailing the presents for birthday, okay? It's all good. Boundaries improve relationships. They allow others to grow. When boundaries are clear, other people become more conscious of their behaviors. Like I became more conscious of my behavior of mailing the package to Ava and raised that with my husband. We're not going to violate that boundary. That's a mental health boundary. That's a personal safety boundary. It's what she's needing and wanting. And we can do that. Hands down, we can do that. Now, boundaries allow you to get more of what you want and less of what you don't want. Now, it's not a one-hit wonder. If there's a long-term habit from, say, a partner that grates on you, it could take time as you reinforce the boundary. And you can figure out for you how long you want to do that. Let's use a very basic one, cap on the toothpaste. Who can relate to that? You have some version of that. Maybe it's a cap on the toothpaste. Maybe it's the leaving doors open in the kitchen cupboards. We all have something that our partner or someone we live with does and drives us crazy, okay? And it might be, and if you set a boundary, you must put the cap on the toothpaste. Is that really a boundary, or is that a rule? And is that a controlling rule? Because you can't make people do things, right? So if I were to do a boundary around the cap on the toothpaste, my husband did it with me. It drives him crazy, can't stand it. And it might be saying something to me like, sweetheart, it just drives me crazy when you don't put the tube on the cap on the toothpaste. My biggest thing is the germs. Bacteria gets in there and I'm putting it in my mouth, and then toothpaste gets all over the counter. Would you really effort to put that tube away and put the lid on it? For whatever reason, for me, it's a big deal. Would you do that for me, my sweetheart? Well, yeah, I'm going to effort and do that, especially when my husband talks to me so respectfully around boundary setting. It's also an intimacy issue, and you might have to reinforce it. For how long is up to you and your boundaries. Maybe the second time you say, I keep asking you to put the cap on the toothpaste, sweetie. This is a big deal. This is a big one for me. I really need you to hear that. And maybe after 3, maybe you give it 4, maybe you give it 5 tries of reinforcing it. And then maybe what you're going to do is get to the point where you say, you know what, we're doing separate toothpastes. This is really a big deal to me with germs. And I'm going to put my toothpaste away over here, and I don't want you to use it. For whatever reason, you can't seem to hear it. Maybe that would work. But there's different ways you can communicate this so it's done with respect. And the biggest rule of setting boundaries is that you got to stick to your guns. You can't be wishy-washy. You can't just blow it off like, okay, that's fine. He didn't put the tube on the toothpaste, blah, blah, blah. You have to develop a commitment to uphold the boundary, because you're doing new behaviors too, asking for what you want and being consistent. And if you've asked, like, here's an example. If you asked people to only contact you after school or work, that you're not going to pick up your phone before work or before school is over, then it's not a good idea to answer the phone during the day, because they're calling you and you ask them not to call you during the day, and there they are calling you, and there you are picking up the phone. Inconsistent with your own boundaries. Make sense? Okay. And the game here is practice, practice, practice. Practice makes perfect, and if this is not familiar behavior for you to set boundaries, it's going to feel awkward and unnatural. That is so normal. For those just joining us, we're reframing and having a conversation on reframing and reinforcing boundaries, okay? Keep going with your boundaries. Don't give up. With practice, you'll get more skilled and more graceful in your own awareness and your own assertiveness and your own self-care, okay? Now, before you confront somebody, so say you got to confront somebody that's violating a boundary, there's 3 things that I want you to remember, okay? And once again, these will all be in the notes once I'm done with the lecture. I'm almost done. I usually last 20, 25 minutes. Here's the thing, 3 things. You are practicing using your voice and not avoiding conflict. Avoiding conflict is not a good thing. You want to be able to express your needs and your wants. And even if you don't think your loved one's going to hear or care about what you have to say, do it anyway. You're not doing it for them. You're doing it for yourself, to build trust with yourself. You're building trust with yourself. Oh, I'm so glad, Michael. And just so you know, I'm seeing this person, put up stuff with links. Do not pay attention. Those are all scam artists. They're all scammers. I'll get them all deleted when this is over, okay? So you're practicing using your voice by not avoiding conflict, and you're doing this to build trust within yourself, because when you set boundaries, you actually are building self-trust. You really are. And if it's a new boundary, you're not sure the boundary was clear, it gives you some time to practice. And you're also practicing, the 3rd thing you're doing is you're practicing honesty and intimacy intimacy with the person that you love or person that you respect or need to be engaged with in the workplace, okay? So I'm going to give you an example, confronting your loved one, okay? You're going to share your observation about the violation, you're going to share how you feel about it, and then you're going to make a request for different behavior in the future. I'm going to give you a perfect example, okay? So let's say it's me talking to my husband. My husband's name is John. Okay, John, I know we talked about calling or texting if we're going to be more than 15 minutes late getting home. You know, last night you were 40 minutes late and you didn't call or text. I felt, this is part number 2, am I sharing how I'm feeling? I felt scared something had happened. It reminded me of other times where you were late when I know you were having an affair. I now know it was an affair. So I feel really uncomfortable and scared during this. And I'm requesting that you tell me where you were last night. And also I'm asking that you honor our agreement and let me know when you're going to be late if it's going to surpass the 15 minutes. That's pretty powerful and very calm, right? Now let's say the boundary is violated over and over and over again. You don't keep talking about it. That's when you feel like you're the doormat victim. You keep asking for what you want, you're not getting what you want. Instead, it's time to take action. Establish your boundaries that will help you take care of yourself and then follow through. So let's say I'm back to this John thing, okay? My original boundaries are being violated with the times, and I've tried these new boundaries, it hasn't worked. So I might say to John or Jack, next time you're late without letting me know, I'm gonna go to bed and you can sleep in a different room. I will do this so that I can deal with my feelings and my upset and really truly take care of myself. And the new boundary is sleeping in separate rooms for that night. And this is like having straight talk in marriage and relationship or with partners. I saw this example, I'm almost done. I saw this example that boundaries are like our skin. I thought this is a great analogy. Boundaries are like skin. Our skin protects us from bacteria, contaminants, it keeps the bad things out. It also holds our bodies together and keeps the good things in. It has elasticity, it can stretch and squish for short periods of time. This is called the resilient edge of resistance. Think of it as a plus-minus margin around your boundaries. Push that edge too far and we reach our limits and the skin breaks. It is semi-permeable so we can let good things in like sunlight and moisture, and we sweat the bad things out. And without skin around us, things get messy. Similarly, without boundaries, things get messy. They get enmeshed, they get enjoined, they get in codependent places. Rules versus boundaries, reframing boundaries and reinforcing boundaries. It takes practice, right? It takes practice. All right, next lecture. That's it for tonight, guys. The next lecture is going to be Monday, May 29th at 6:30 p.m. Excuse me. The topic is we're going to look at the juxtaposition between thinking versus feeling. I love this topic. This is one I'm really diving into right now. Have you ever been called too sensitive or insensitive? On that spectrum, you know? And so what I want to do is explore emotional intelligence through thinking and feeling to find more balance in our lives as we communicate with our loved ones. Because sometimes we really want to listen to our intuition, but is our intuition sometimes distorted? Because our intuition can be distorted, especially if we had a trauma in our past. Maybe, I love the analogy of the alarm going off in the house, the fire alarm going off in the house, and there's no fire. Sometimes we have feelings of an alarm going off and there's no fire. And so how do you use both thinking and feeling in emotional intelligence to really trust yourself? I love this idea of trusting yourself. That's a very good thing. Also, the apology you'll never receive, the next one is in June. I want to say June 12th or June 14th. Forgive, I don't have it in my mind's eye. I'll make sure I put it on the notes when I put it up. And that class is $6.99. It's on Zoom. We just did one in May. It was exquisite. If you really want to get good at accepting the apology you'll never receive and just master this personal development tool. It's a great class. It lasts an hour. We never turn anyone away. So if you can't afford the $6.99, we have scholarships from the stars we get and the things that people send. So we never turn anyone away. So that's also in the events section. All right, that's it. Big love, everybody. Have an amazing day. Practice your boundary setting because it creates safety, emotional, spiritual, physical safety within your family systems and within your workplaces. Okay? All right, see you next time.